Hello and welcome to this For the Region Members and Partners Forum, and today's discussion, which is all about inspiring the future generation in our region. We're talking about opportunities for young people, and we're talking about what businesses and organisations across South West Wales are already doing to contribute to the empowerment, the upskilling, and the support and the inspiration of young people who are, of course, the future of South West Wales. So some people may not realise this, but really For the Region and our mission, which is really broad, it's about the sort of transformation of South West Wales to a greener, cleaner economy with a social value at its core. But the beginning and end of For the Region really, I think, is about young people in South West Wales. Zoe and I are both really personally motivated to make sure that young people across our region recognise the opportunities that are here on their doorstep for flourishing futures, for amazing, exciting, rewarding careers, and that we're doing everything we can to create a happier, healthier region, that people right across South West Wales feel happy, have that sense of well-being, and have everything that they need to thrive. And you can tackle that from different angles, and I hope we'll unpick all the layers of that today in the discussion. But for me, the journey started years and years ago when, as a kind of young entrepreneur, as I was 15 years ago, I was invited to go into colleges and schools and do these kind of inspirational talks to groups of college leavers, and sometimes particularly groups of girls, but not always, with my message that you can start a business, you can grow a business here in Swansea and South West Wales. And I really used to love going in and doing those talks. And I also used to come away with this sense that so many young people across our region just don't have that sense of possibility for themselves. I don't know whether it was because the groups of people that I was asked to talk to were those who were particularly struggling to think of what their future career path might be, or whether it was representative of the whole system. But I always came away with the sense that there's a real job to do in making young people more aware of the opportunities and the possibilities and that sense of empowerment and opportunity in their own lives. And I know that we've got partners in the room for today's conversation that are really on the front line of all of this, working with young people to support them in all the ways that are needed to just open up their minds and equip them for the opportunities that exist. And I would suggest that's as much about mindset as it is about kind of technical skills and sector-based skills. It's about making sure people are equipped emotionally and psychologically, as well as technically, and in terms of specific skills for career choices they might wish to make. And it's a question, how early do we need to start engaging with kids and young people to make sure they're ready for the opportunities when they leave school or college? And we've been talking loads to businesses in different sectors recently, particularly, for example, the engineering and manufacturing sector. What's your key challenge as a business sector? Well, it's skills, it's recruitment, it's finding the people here in South West Wales with the right skills and the interest in a career in engineering and manufacturing. And this is just one example, isn't it, of a sector that's got huge growth potential, massive growth sector, looking at innovation, looking at climate resilience and all the new technologies associated with that, and the more traditional metal bashing skills. Are young people thinking about careers in these sectors? Because they're right here on our doorstep and the opportunities are amazing, exciting jobs in really great companies right here in our region. But are young people aware of all the different interesting jobs and sectors that they could go into? What's already happening? What needs to happen? And how can we really make sure that for all these future jobs that are emerging across different sectors here in South West Wales, that those jobs will be opportunities for local people, and that local people will be ready and waiting to go into those key sectors. So as I say, we can talk about this from lots of different angles and perspectives. The way we like to start our For the Region member sector forums is to invite you all to have small group conversations and tell us and each other, why do you think this is an important topic for discussion? So I've created a bit of context there. I've talked about why, for me, this is a really, really important and personally a topic that I'm really passionate about. But I'd love for you guys to have a similar conversation in small groups of 2 or 3 and answer the question, why do you think this is such an important topic? Why are you here today? Why are you personally motivated? So literally 5-minute chats, 2 or 3 of you in a breakout room. You should have a button on your screen. It's a purpose question. Why are you here? Why does this feel important? And then we'll bring you back in 5 minutes time, and hopefully some of you will share with us what you've shared with each other about your own sense of purpose around this topic.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. I hope you had long enough to have a quick fire conversation. I should have said before I sent you in not to spend too much time on introductions, but to focus on the question. So I asked you, why is today's discussion about young people and opportunities and inspiration for young people across South West Wales? Why is this topic important to you? So show of hands, please. Who would like to share with the wider group? Why are you here? Why is today's discussion important to you? We'll just have a minute or so from each of you that want to share.
Sherry has her hand up.
Faith in Families. Hi.
Hi. I think we're just really keen that everyone in this, we're a place where all are happy to live, work and play, and we believe that if we don't inspire our younger generations and give them equitable opportunities to be their best selves, then our city isn't going to be as great as it can be. And we're working with children that are living in some real adverse situations, that are living in poverty, that are hungry and cold and tired, and therefore their opportunities are not as equitable as everybody else's to actually learn. And that's what we're about, is making sure that they get the same type of opportunities, and we have a fair city.
Amazing, yes, so important, and a really amazing work that Faith in Families does. Hopefully we can hear some more from you guys as the meeting rolls on, but yeah, ensuring that we're really creating and giving those opportunities equitably, making sure everyone is equipped to take advantage of opportunities on their doorstep. Thank you so much. Tanya, lovely to see you. Why are you here?
I'm here because well, 2 reasons. One is not only just the generations that are alive at the moment, but I'm also concerned about future generations yet to come. You know, we need to be doing more about how we ensure the longer term sustainability, and at the moment we're discounting and putting all the mess onto those who are yet born. So I'm sort of keen to not make sure that we don't lose sight of those who are still very rapidly will be coming over the horizon. But also from I've just started the first Welsh Women in Sustainability Network Hub, so I'm also really keen to ensure that women who are still within the workplace, you know, either underrepresented or underheard, or unable to have the same opportunities, what we can be doing to help and support them. And actually that goes for all groups that are feeling underrepresented. So what can we do there, particularly because there's such an opportunity there that you know we're missing out on.
Brilliant, great to have you here. Thank you for that. Yes, and talking about, you know, those people that need the extra support, or particular groups and demographics that are underrepresented. That's really important. Who else will share? Why does this feel important to you? Stephen, great to see you.
It's good to see you too. From the point of view of the Wales Air Ambulance charity, there's probably a two-pronged reason for wanting to focus on youth engagement for us. One is what we can contribute as an organisation to the development of younger people in the area is one particular keen focus that we have. But also it's about future-proofing our organisation and the life-saving service that we offer, because as part of our strategic review that we've just undertaken, is quite clear when we look at our workforce and when we look at our supporter base, that they're all 40, 50 plus. So where are our future volunteers coming from? Where are our future supporters coming from? We have to future-proof the organisations. To do that, we need to support or we need to engage with younger people. But at the same time, as an organisation that has a footprint in this region but across Wales, is there anything we can do to support that? So again, we've been looking at opportunities to develop apprenticeships within the organisation, to support schools and their curriculum development with the various interesting areas that we cover as an organisation. So yeah, it's a two-prong attach. It's about what we can do to support younger people in their development and their future, but also future-proofing the charity so that the life-saving work can still be here in 20, 30 years' time with the support of the younger generations coming through.
Yeah, really, really good points there, Steve. And, it's as much about the future proofing of our businesses and our organizations, and making sure we've got that kind of pipeline, whether that's a pipeline of talent coming into the team via recruitment, or as you've described as a charity, that pipeline of supporters and volunteers and people that know and care how important the organization is. Really, really good points, well made. Let's have a final share. Who will tell us why you're here? Why does this feel important to you? Abid, can I see you waving? Is that you wanting to come in? You'd need to unmute yourself. We'd love to hear from you. Why does today's event feel important to you? Oh, you're still on mute, Abid.
Hi everyone, how's it going? You okay?
Great.
First off, sorry for being late. Okay, hope you all have a nice day anyways. Secondly, it feels fantastic to be part of this meeting, given that we are the only radio station that's part of the For the Region Creative Alliance, and we feel privileged every single time that we take part in these online events in terms of meeting other people, networking with possible collaborative partners, and also telling about our story, our journey, and about who we are and what we do as well. Most of you may
why does this topic feel really important to you? Inspiring young people, creating opportunities for young people. Why is that so important?
It's really important because it's part of the ideal about retaining talent in Wales, especially, and also inspiring generations to come, because me personally, from the industry where I worked in the radio industry, we are geographically displaced, and it's a huge gap, honestly. Like all the opportunities seem to be in England, and that's always going to be a case. But if opportunities and job creation can be made here in South Wales, then I think we are just doing our part in sort of contributing towards keeping young people here, and I think it's part of our duty, to be honest with you, because I think Wales as a whole country has a whole lot of potential. All the regions, Swansea, doesn't matter where you're from, it has lots of opportunities. It's just a case of young people having access to the right kind of opportunity they want to seek and the careers basically that they want to get into.
Really important point. Thank you for adding that dimension. It's about retaining talent here in our region. It's about creating those pathways for young people to pursue their passions and live out their purpose here in South West Wales. And yeah, that's essential for our local and regional economy and for the Welsh economy on a short-term and a long-term basis. That's brilliant, Abid. Thank you so much for sharing that. Right, so that gives us all a shared picture of why this is important. I'm sure we'll touch upon a lot more of that as the discussion progresses. But I'd like to come now to the first of our sort of 5-minute speaking slots. We've got the How people here. We've got Joe and Polly from the How people, which is a fantastic, inspiring project. And we'd love for you to tell us a little bit more about the How people and what that's all about, and perhaps elaborate, why is this topic important to you? I think it's one of the guiding purposes of your organisation. Joe and Polly, I'll hand over to you.
We are Joe and Polly from the How People. We just wanted to quickly come on and give you a little bit about us and what makes our business, what we think makes our business important for the area. My name's Polly. I also work in sport for development for the whole of Wales, in community groups, and I've got a massive passion for anything sport. I love cold water swimming. I do love a bit of Marmite on toast. How about you?
I am Joe. I'm a freelance GP. I was a partner in Cwmbelyn on Carmarthen Road when I first came down to Swansea, but now I locum and I homeschool one of my children. I've got two other older teenagers in school and a younger child who's also in school. I love travel. I've had small businesses before, and I love an egg. Any way, shape or form.
Really,
completely
really
irrelevant
eggs.
piece of information.
It's really strange. So just a little bit of background on us. We have got a digital membership community. It started locally. We wanted to engage young girls in sport, on teenage girls in sport, and it developed to a digital community from there. We do different free events to make sure that anyone that wants to be part of what we do can be involved, and we do a load of workshops as well, which is always a lot of fun. We've recently just partnered with Us Girls from Swansea Council to do a vision boarding chaos session, which was hilarious and a lot of fun. And it was the first in-person thing that we've done in a while as well, so that was great. And we have got a course called The Know-How, which tells you everything you need to know about transitioning from year 6 to year 7, and that is across all schools. But we've put a real specific push on inviting Welsh schools, and particularly from those around Swansea.
That's going to be more in the next coming year, isn't it?
Yeah, and coaching and courses. We do quite a lot, really. Keeps us certainly busy. Now, this is one of the questions that I'm sure will resonate with a lot of you. What do you want to do when you grow up? We heard it a lot when we were kids. We're hearing it a lot now. Now, we'll come back to this in a minute, but what I want to know is, I want these answers in your head. I want you to think about these while we go through a few bits of information for you.
We talked, when we came in, you were all talking about your reasons for being here. And when we were in our breakout room, it became apparent that there are lots of different reasons why we're here. We both have very individual stories as to what brought us to this point. We both have had very different experiences within the education system, and we both have very different roles now, but we both have children. We both have children that are going through education at various different stages, and we are seeing the impact of our changing world on our own children. To top that off, also in my work as a general practitioner, even before the pandemic, there was this sense of increased issues with mental health in young people, problems with self-esteem, problems with confidence, problems that if they were dealt with before they really became ingrained, could have been helped without potentially reaching the situation that they may have reached. We have now had a pandemic, which we all know has tipped the balance even more. We know that the NHS is really struggling. The waiting lists are shocking for anything. People are waiting a long time for any sort of input. So these figures were all pre-pandemic, but we realised there was this need for an early intervention and essentially a different way of looking at teenage and young people and their mental health. So how can we sort of nip this in the bud, and how can we be a part of these children's lives? Almost back in the day, that, you know, extended family, the aunties, the other adults, the babysitters, those people that were around to help and enrich a young person's life. Sometimes now, in the busy life that we live, with parents working and people toing and froing and teenagers engrossed in their phones. Things have changed. So these figures are not even half the stats that they would be today, but we saw this consistent concern over self-esteem and confidence. So there are loads of reasons why we do what we do, but essentially we are now supporting teenagers and young people with role models, life skills, and good mental health before there's a big problem. And these are the three sort of reasons that we feel are at the core of a lot of worries with our young people at the moment. I think the internet obviously has huge benefits. It's amazing. We wouldn't all be here now. Our business has changed entirely because of the online space. It's an amazing thing, but we're doing a smartphone assembly into schools at the moment, and we've said it's almost like we're handing these phones to the majority. Obviously, I realise it's not all children, but there are over 50% of children who are 10 and 11 have got their own smartphone. The stats in the schools that we're working with are up to 100% of year 6 children have their own phones.
We've also had to change our own sessions into schools on the amount of time kids are spending on screens and on their phones per day, because they were completely outside of the realms of what we had researched and what we thought was the case, which is pretty scary.
So there's this constant worry about screens, but really we say, it's about informing them, it's about educating them, it's about helping them. Would you give a car key to a 17-year-old and just say, go drive your car? You wouldn't. You'd help them, you'd educate them, give them lessons. The education system itself, I don't want to get too political. As I've said, I've got children in school and I've got a child out of school, and I have various reasons for that. But we have an exam-focused, tick-boxed based education system, and Wales is ahead of the curve. Wales has got some good changes coming in with the new curriculum. I hope that that's going to bring well-needed shake-up. But children do not realise that there is a life beyond exams. Everything is focused around GCSEs, and from the age of 6, 7, 8, this early testing that's happening, they're not thinking beyond it. They don't think about what else they could be doing. They're not thinking about volunteering or life experiences, or there often isn't time in the timetable to do things that maybe schools might offer, but not all schools do, like Duke of Edinburgh awards and that sort of stuff. It's not even available to most children.
Volunteering, Welsh Air Ambulance.
Yeah, exactly. The volunteer options are massive, and it all comes down, basically all of these things have to be supplemented by the parents, because at school all they are interested in is what's going to pass them exams. The changing world, chuck in a pandemic, and you've got an absolute snowstorm. So one of our sessions that we did a year ago was with the NatWest Bank, and I'm sure you've probably seen this list before, but I think as businesses in this region, we need to be looking at what skills our young people need to be developing, and we have a place to be able to support them and schools early on in their education to be thinking differently about their own education and their own movement through schools. So these are the things they need to be learning about, not some of the stuff that they're coming out with for GCSEs. We can send all this on to you. I don't want to take up too much time. Bringing it back to us, these are the things, aren't they? Yeah. These are the things that we feel we should be encouraging in our children. So should we go through those?
Yeah.
I think being coachable. We're about to have dogs.
My dogs are about to bark.
I think being coachable as a concept, it's being open to change, being open to development, being open to learning from those people around you, collaborating in your learning experience rather than being spoon-fed. Curiosity, we need to be encouraging that in buckets full with our children. They are so curious up to the age of 10 or 11, and then somehow it disappears. And it comes back again, but why is that? How can we support that? You do the next one.
Sorry, I was busy giving my husband devil eyes for walking in and making loads of noise. Where did we get to?
Courageous.
Yeah, being courageous, being brave, stepping outside your comfort zone, trying something new, trying something different, and realizing that there are different things out there that you may not feel the confidence or the comfort in trying, but doing that as a community. Collaboration as well. It is like find those things out there that are making you tick, like build stuff on passion. I think collaboration is such I always say it in my work with the How people and my work for the charity, it is collaboration over competition. We need to teach this to our children. We need to make sure that they have this mindset going forward. And the community is the perfect place for that to be. You know, you are there supporting each other, helping each other, guiding each other through. If you find that, you know, there are young entrepreneurs out there that we've spoken to that have come to us for advice and they're like, oh, this business is a bit similar to mine. Great, go make friends with them. Go and be their best mate. You will drive things forward together. It is all about collaboration.
I think community as well, we're seeing now in the development of our membership, because we've now got girls that have been with us for a couple of years. And last week, for example, one of the older girls was teaching us all how to draw an eye, and she was supporting the younger ones. And this beautiful relationship has been developed online between the older and younger girls who don't live they all live in Wales, but they don't live anywhere near each other in Wales, these particular girls. And that is an amazing thing which doesn't happen at school. We don't get that peer-to-peer support. Confidence, developing confidence, growing confidence, trying things, getting more confidence in everything you do, and connecting, making sure that you look outside of your own small circle of friends to who else is around with you. So
this takes us back to the question we asked you right at the beginning. What do you want to do when you grow up? That shouldn't be the question that is being asked. It shouldn't ever be the question that's being asked, because without sounding too flippant, who cares? Like, we will all do something. We will all find our way. We will all often jump through different careers and try different things through life, because otherwise life would be pretty boring. The fact is, we need to reframe the question. What kind of person do you want to be when you grow up? This is what our children should be hearing. This is what the future generations need to be equipped with, is that understanding of the sort of person you are. That's the thing that is going to take you through your life, not what defines you in your career, is what sort of person do you want to be when you grow up. So my challenge to you all after this is, next time you speak to a young person, don't ask them what they want to be, ask them who they want to be. And this quite neatly brings us over to how to find us. A quiet little plug there, and I always think that there's one of those things with webinars is that you always think, who were they? What were they doing? And they were harping on about something for so long, I kind of can't remember what their name was anyway. So if anyone wants to ever talk to us, collaborate with us, connect with us, come and have a chat, we do love a natter. But maybe if it's in person, bring an egg, some Marmite on toast and a cup of tea, and you'd be very welcome.
Happy days.
And that's it from us, so thank you very much for listening.
Oh, well, that is a really, really inspiring start. Thank you so much for sharing a bit about the How people and this amazing online community that you've created. Some really, really good talking points and thought prompts there, reframing the question, how much pressure we put on our young people, and their well-being, as you say, is really paramount now, given the challenges of the last few years. So some really, really important things for us to consider. And I think a lot of us share that fear about, how we're unleashing all this new technology that kids are obviously really comfortable with, but are they equipped to handle the stress and the strain that it puts onto their emotional and psychological well-being? Super important.
Yeah.
And then the changing world, you mentioned the pandemic, but there's fear about climate emergency.
Yeah, exactly. And the World War III, you can go on. It's a time it's an unprecedented point of time that we never had to, none of us have ever experienced what that feels like. It's the uncertainty around everything, isn't it? And they're seeing it at the end of their phone all the time, playing out. So we have to talk to them. And, obviously there are every family is in a very, very different situation. And, we just have to do our best to open the lines of conversation with the young people that we are exposed to, and help as much as we can.
I think it must be a really stressful and fearful time to be thinking about what your future career might be in the context of all the doom and gloom that is fed to us through the media all the time, all the talks about recession and all the talks about, the wars and the climate emergency. And on the one hand, we're all saying there's so many opportunities here on our doorstep, kids can do anything, and then you can think about the pressure that that actually puts on kids. So I love your reframing of the question. I'll take that on board. I'll start talking to young people about who they want to be in the world. So yeah, really empowering. Thanks both for kicking us off. Hopefully we'll get into more discussion as the session rolls on, but I hope others agree that was a really inspiring start, and I'm sure there'll be questions and comments to share in a bit. But if it's all right with you, I'll move on to our next inspiring speaker, and that's Jane Brewer from To Be Enterprising. So here's another fantastic project that's engaging with young people across our region and beyond. Jane, will you tell us a little bit about To Be Enterprising?
I will, sure. I've got a few slides as well. Polly, Joe, that was absolutely amazing. You could probably see me nodding along, and sort of several crossover collaborative opportunities that I think perhaps we will have. So we'll definitely need to catch up. So firstly, thanks Dawn and Zoe for inviting us to speak about the Bumbles of Honeywood programme. My name's Jane Brewer, I'm the CEO, and we sort of relaunched the company in September with some funding from Development Bank Wales and private investment, with the ambition to work with potentially 700 primary schools over the next year. I also love a bit of Marmite on toast. I'm partial to a cheese string. I love Donny Osmond, and I have a 2- and 3-year-old. So I have a vested interest in the education and the support system for young people. And I actually invested in this organisation before I accepted the role as CEO, because I firmly believe that it is something that we need for our future, for our young people. So we deliver essentially enterprise education resources for primary school children, and lots of you might think that that's a little bit bonkers, teaching enterprise to 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds. But as Joe and Polly just mentioned, it's a really impressionable age. They do a lot of their development before they get to secondary school and before they're kind of put in that tunnel of testing and exams. And this is, I've been working with Enterprise for over 20 years, and to work with young people has just been the most inspirational time. They are like little sponges, and the ideas and innovation that they come up with has just been incredible. So as Joe and Polly mentioned as well, we're in a fortunate position in Wales that the curriculum has changed, and Enterprise is now included on the new curriculum for Wales, which is fantastic, and that's given us an opportunity to really connect with primary schools and work with primary school teachers on delivering enterprise education to those young people. They've never been asked to do this before, and a lot of primary school teachers have not necessarily been out into commerce or worked anywhere else other than education. So to be able to teach those skills and develop that awareness is quite tricky. So we've created a series of 6 storybooks centered around a family of bees called the Bumbles of Honeywood, and over 120 digital resources for primary school teachers to download. They've got access to lesson plans, activities, and presentations that they can use in the classroom to support their young people with the development of enterprise skills, which are essentially problem solving, leadership, communication, resilience, all those skills that Joe and Polly have already talked about, that we know are so important, and probably more important now that young people haven't been in an education setting or had that support. So we provide those digital resources as well as physical resources, the storybooks, and we also go in and deliver 3 activity sessions with those primary schools. Our aim is to raise the aspirations of young people in our area, really through the development of skills and experience to prepare them for work and life. We partner businesses with a primary school, so we don't get primary schools to pay for the resources. We ask a local business partner to support their local primary school or schools, and actually take control of going in and raising, sort of awareness about what job opportunities are out there for young people. Some of the schools and some of the young people that we're working with are 3rd, 4th generation unemployed. They don't necessarily have role models to look up to, or they don't necessarily have access to individuals and organisations that can ask questions about their sector. So this is a really nice opportunity to connect those businesses with young people and give them that opportunity and that time and space to sort of communicate. And also it's an opportunity for the primary schools to connect with businesses. Often businesses are quite focused on supporting secondary schools because those young people are closer to the job market. They want to see quick results. They want to see those apprenticeships coming through. But we really need to work with these young people a lot earlier to really inspire them and give them sort of insight into what is available. So as I mentioned, we want every child in the UK to have access to the Bumbles of Honeywood programme. So we deliver the resources throughout primary schools. As of today, we're in 150 primary schools across England and Wales. About 10% of those are Welsh language. All of our resources are bilingual. We believe that, you know, there should be absolute equality, and, you know, there's over 400 primary schools, Welsh medium primary schools in Wales. They shouldn't have to wait for the resources like sometimes they do have to. So all of our resources are bilingual. And we're keen to partner with those businesses that are really passionate about creating a dynamic workforce for the future and are keen to work with young people. So we really want those businesses to share our vision that a huge impact can be achieved at early stage. And believe you me, if you ever came into one of those primary schools, you would certainly see the impact that you could make, even, you know, with 4, 5, 6-year-olds. Some of our partners are on the slide there. So they have partnered with between 1 and 15 primary schools. CK Supermarkets have partnered with 15 primary schools in South Wales. University of Wales Trinity St David, we have just made an announcement today that they have partnered with 11 primary schools. And to me, that absolutely means the world. An education establishment has, you know, a university establishment has recognised how important it is for us to be working with these young people from such a young age. The partnership is £987 per year, and that includes all of the resources and those activities and visits. Some of the partners that we've worked with have gone over and above the relationship that we have developed in the classroom. The Secret Hospitality Group, for instance, took Grange Primary School children down to Castellamare to teach them pizza making. Safety Letterbox Company have actually manufactured a competition-winning design of a letterbox and shown the young people the process from the design right the way through to powder coating and manufacturing of those letterboxes. Absolutely incredible, because I don't think anybody puts their hand up when they're 5 or 6 and says, I want to work in manufacturing. This has definitely changed the opinions of those young people for an incredible business based in Neath. And they're so innovative. Check them out on LinkedIn. There's no business that I go into and don't talk about the Safety Letterbox Company. They're incredible. So take a look at them. They're one of our early adopters and really valued partners of the Bumbles of Honeywood programme. So why become a partner? Same reason you're all here today. We really want to make a difference. We really want to be working with those young people from an early age. And we'd love you to be a part of a programme that we want to see in over 4,000 primary schools within the next 4 years, working with over 250,000 young people. So if you've got any questions, I literally just added the connect with us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook and Instagram because Polly and Joe had. So please head across to our socials, ask any questions that you have. We'd love to get you involved, but we really feel like, you know, we've got some fantastic businesses on board here in Swansea. We've got schools waiting for this programme, particularly in Carmarthenshire and Pembrokeshire. Those schools have put their hands up and said, we want it. Please find us a partner. So if you know of any businesses or you'd like to get involved in some way, like I mentioned, we're really up for partnerships as well, and you know, making sure that we are making a difference to young people in South Wales and beyond. Thank you.
Amazing, Jane. Thank you so much for that. I think it's really interesting to look at enterprise skills as being about much more than actually starting a business. You don't have to turn into an entrepreneur. I think actually you and I met when we were both going into schools, weren't we, and doing those kind of inspirational talks.
And I want employees that I take on to be entrepreneurial. You know, they don't have to take that risk themselves. I want them to come up with ideas and be innovative. And so it's entrepreneurial in that sense that, you know, it's thinking outside the box. And I think as employers, we want those people. And it's not about creating a load of little Peter Joneses, because that's not what we need. We need valuable contributors to businesses. So we're really open. We've got apprentices in the business. We're offering job placements, you know, for work experience for secondary school students, which is really important because a lot of people don't necessarily want to take that risk to join a new business. I'd like to go and work for the health board or the DVLA or the council. Come and work with a new business, come and see absolutely every single aspect of what we do.
Really amazing building those connections between schools and employers and businesses. Just absolutely fantastic. You can see how that's such a win-win for both sides of the equation, and exactly the kinds of things that we need. And it's about giving kids that empowered mindset, isn't it, to realize that they can go into all the different sorts of sectors and opportunities. And fascinating to hear about that example of the manufacturing sector, because as I say, I think as so many young people have lost sight that there are opportunities in that sector, and it's as you say, inspiring and exciting when they actually get hands-on and see what it's all about. Yeah, well, hopefully we can connect you with businesses that want to support this in schools across the region. I'm sure you've inspired lots of people already this afternoon. So do hang around for questions and further discussion, Jane. Thank you so much. We've got one more speaking slot lined up, but I think there are a number of projects here in the room that we would really love to hear from as well. But our next speaking slot is Stuart Powell from Technocamps. And I love Technocamps for lots of different reasons, not least because taking my kids to Technocamps workshops when they were in person meant that I got to take my kids to do an activity on the campus of Swansea University. And I thought, we live in the local area, we walk through the campus all the time, and now my kids have actually been in classes in the classroom in the university, and I thought that was just a really great experience for them, quite apart from actually what they were learning as part of Technocamps. So Stuart, I hope I haven't stolen too much of your thunder, but I'd love to pass over to you and you can tell us what Technocamps is all about.
Thank you very much, Dawn. You stole a lot of my thunder, but we'll see how we do. I think I wasn't going to talk actually, but before I talk about Technocamps, I think the idea of bringing young people onto campus is huge, and I think it opens doors. And we hear all the time about students who and our families who talk about walking around the campus because they feel even walking onto the campus is the wrong thing to do, or they don't feel they're not welcomed, if you will, or they don't feel they can just walk in and see what's going on. And actually, I think by the after school club that we run, and we're so pleased actually we're now running our after school club back in person from the beginning of this term. So we have around 25 young people who join us on a Monday afternoon from 4 until 6 who take part in these STEM activities. And as you said, from a sort of a HE access or breaking down those barriers to HE is really important. I sidelined a little, but let me give a really quick introduction. I'm sure there's loads of people who already know the fantastic work that Technocamps does, but I'm going to give a really quick overview of that and then talk a little bit about some of the opportunities and things we've been highlighting with young people over the past several years now. It's going quite quickly. So obviously I'm going to focus on those opportunities for young people, and particularly for myself, and what Technocamps does is looking how we can give opportunities for young people through computation. Computation, computers, STEM are they're everywhere, they're ubiquitous. We can't, someone earlier talked about the use of mobile phones. Technology is changing the way we live, the way we work, and actually providing young people with those opportunities, not only to be consumers of technologies, and I'm sure loads of you have heard this phrase before, but actually to be creators of technology and understand how they can make technology work for them is extremely important. And as Technocamps, that's one of our big ambitions, is to motivate young people to think differently about technology, and particularly how it can affect their lives, whether no matter what they go on to do, whatever career paths they decide, that actually computation is likely to be very important and actually can be an enabling skill that can actually open its own doors and own opportunities. I'll give a very quick introduction. My name's Stuart Powell. I'm a computer science academic in the computer science department at Swansea University. I don't like Marmite, I must say. I don't know where this trend has come from, but I also say I'm super boring, in fact. But I try my best. I spend a lot of my time talking, engaging with young people, teaching in the university, and trying to inspire people to think differently about what computer science is. Because unfortunately, and I often do this exercise, maybe we'll do it very quickly over 5 seconds. If you imagine what a computer scientist looks like, if you close your eyes for 5 seconds and think, what does a computer scientist look like? I guarantee lots of you are thinking of somebody with some weird hairstyle all in a fray, wearing a lab coat, possibly with glasses. I can see Zoe laugh, and I'm sure that's exactly the image Zoe had in mind. And unfortunately, 9 times out of 10, or even 99 out of 100, they are a man. Because that's what the word computer scientist brings up in people. And these stereotypes is one of the things that are really holding us back with this. And a lot of the work that Technocamps does is about breaking down those stereotypes. Technocamps is a huge program. I could spend over an hour talking about all the intricate projects and the kind of work we do. But to summarize, we, as the whole program is called Technocamps, we have a secondary engagement project, which is actually called Technocamps, which looks to work with young people in schools at secondary school. This is targeted, currently funded through some European funding that we have. And we're looking and really excited and working with the local authorities currently on the Shared Prosperity Fund, which is coming in the future, to look at how we can continue this support. And it's all about enabling students to look at the opportunities, particularly around qualifications, as they go in from sort of the year 9 into picking their options, and ensuring that we provide motivation and ideas around a different take on STEM subjects and to try and motivate that. Although if you start talking to girls, particularly females in even year 7, you're already too late. So in 2011, we introduced our Playground Computing program, which is a program targeting primary school students or pupils, where we go in and we work with young students, often in an unplugged setting. So actually, it's always made me laugh when I arrive at a school or one of the team arrive at the school and they know we're from Technocamps. You see this daunting person running towards you. It's usually the IT technician who's in a panic, because they fear Technocamps is coming in today and they want to know what technology they need to work for today. And it's so nice to be able to say, today we're not using any technology, we're doing unplugged computing. And for us, actually imparting on the idea of what computers are, how they work, and the thought process behind them is actually more important than using the technology itself. Of course, from an education point of view, the holy grail for us actually is working with teachers. If we can support teachers, provide teachers with a confidence and competence within computer science to deliver it to their pupils on a day-to-day basis, you could argue, and our director, Professor Farron Moller, often says if we could solve that problem, Technocamps wouldn't need to exist anymore. Maybe we'll get there someday in the future. But providing teachers with the ability to impart the same sort of knowledge on their students and provide those opportunities within a school setting. We have amazing teachers in Wales. We just unfortunately lack the throughput of teachers within particularly STEM and computer science space to really provide those opportunities to students. And another arm of Technocamps is part of our Institute of Coding in Wales program. This is the business arm of Technocamps. This is a project that started a bit earlier in 2018, but was incorporated as part of the Institute of Coding, where we look to work with businesses and provide opportunities for those looking for changes in career, but also to help pipeline students as well. So that we have a degree apprenticeship program, which sees businesses, usually around 30 per year, to put their employees on a 3-year applied software engineering degree. So this is employees who are actually undertaking work. They're taking 1 day off a week to come onto campus and actually develop their skills, and at the end of the 3 years actually come out and graduate with a full BSc in software engineering, which is a huge accomplishment. It's hard work, but I think if you look at some of the case studies we have, actually it's really inspired and provided opportunities that otherwise these employees wouldn't have got. The interesting thing about Technocamps is it is pan-Wales. We have hubs in almost all of the universities in Wales. What's really important about this, particularly when you're talking about working in the education sector, is you're never too far away from university. I must say, I often, when we look at education research, a phrase saying that Wales is geographically challenged. I think that's often true. I don't know if you've ever, for lots of the projects in the room, if you've ever tried to organize a pan-Wales event, if you hold it in South Wales, the North Wales teams don't come. If you hold it in North Wales, the South Wales teams don't come. And if you hold it in Mid Wales, nobody turns up. So it's a real challenge, actually, to kind of think about how we can work and provide the support that people need across Wales. And the university network and the Technocamps hubs within the computer science department is how we tend to deal with this. In terms of numbers, again, I want to talk a bit more about computation, but in terms of numbers, since 2011, we've engaged with over 65,000 young people. It's almost 9% of the population of those aged between 7 and 24, I think the stat is. Just a huge number of people. And when we talk about engagement, we're not talking about going in and doing an assembly and seeing 200 young people at the same time. These engagements are classroom-based. So often with 30 or less people in the room, and it's normally our average participant spends 2 full school days with us. So around 10 hours of engagement. So this is real impactful engagement to provide those opportunities. And then, of course, we engage with teachers, and we've engaged with over 650 teachers since 2011 as well. So a large number, focusing not only on secondary, but primary school teachers as well. I've already taken so much time, but the program is amazing. There's so many amazing things we do. I love this picture because it kind of summarizes for me, or collage of pictures. It summarizes for me some of the great work. My favorite one to point out very quickly is the robot in the bottom right. I once had a call from a school. We do an annual robotics competition, and they said to me, if we can make our robot fly, will that be okay from a health and safety point of view? Now, this robot weighs about, I would say, half a bag of sugar at least. And I was like, yeah, if you can make it fly, we'll make it happen. And a couple of weeks later, I got a phone call, we're bringing helium balloons with us. And I thought, okay, can I make this happen? And they did. They produced a robot, an autonomous flying robot that they balanced perfectly with these helium balloons that would then move around the arena and actually make sure it doesn't touch anything. And this was in 2014. So this was before drones had become really popular. So they've kind of invented, they made their own drone basically before even we were buying them and they were easy to get on the market. It was some amazing. But again, we do loads of great things. What I want to talk about, though, is what I think is important. And for us, a big focus of everything we do, although we're founded within computer science and we're looking at the use of computer science within STEM, it's all about computation. Now, I need a little bit of I need people to get involved in this part. Okay, so you might need to unmute your mic. It's only for 5 seconds. Okay, so I'm going to put a question on the screen. And I would like you to shout out the answer as soon as you know it. Okay? Are we all ready?
We're ready. Yeah, unmute, folks. Unmute, be ready.
Let's see. Okay, so the question is, shout out the biggest number.
66.
66.
Okay, so we all got it, right? We all said you look at the numbers and you got 66.
Be the biggest number.
QR code. Yeah.
It's not a trick question, unfortunately, but that is a good idea. That is a good idea. So 66. So everybody, humans, looked at those numbers and almost instantaneously shouted out that 66 was the biggest number. Now, the reason I'm asking you this is not to think about how you got the answer itself, but it's about thinking, how did you get the answer? Now, when I ask people this, and I know it's virtual, so it's quite difficult, but when I ask people this, they always say, I just knew. I looked at the screen, and whether adults or young people, and hopefully there's some people nodding along, I just looked at them and I knew instantaneously that 66 was the largest. Now, this for me is one way that we demonstrate the idea of computation and what computers can do versus kind of humans. Humans have this initiative, this ability to look at things and put this knowledge together. To get a computer to solve this problem needs us to think computationally. We need a computer to come along and say, okay, they know how numbers work. They can tell the difference between two numbers, but they can't compare all of them at once. So for a computer to solve this problem, they actually need to break it down. And they break it down by looking at one number first. So say we've only got 21, well, that's going to be the biggest number. They compare it to another number, maybe minus 10. Is minus 10 bigger than 21? No, so they disregard, maybe, I don't know if this is going to work. They disregard minus 10. They check the next one. Is it bigger than 20? Bigger than 2? No. Is 21 bigger than 13? No. Is it bigger than 45? Yes. So we disregard 21 and we keep 45 and we keep going. Hopefully you're getting the point. And then eventually we get to the point we compare the last one. Okay, so 66. I asked, have I looked at all of the numbers? The answer is yes. So am I done? Do I have the biggest number? I've solved the problem. Now, I rushed this a little in the interest of time, but this idea of breaking down a problem is exactly what computation is. And being able to get students to understand what they need to be able to do to problem solve computationally is at the heart of everything we do. And as I said, computation can be thought of as the ability to solve a problem in a way that a computer can replicate. And a lot of the work we're doing around Wales at the moment is particularly looking at curriculum. It's a really exciting time in Wales at the moment with the new curriculum, looking at the subject areas, looking at things such as ICT, computer science, and now the new digital technology GCSE and A-level, which we've been supporting, and digital literacy, which goes across all of our curriculum, and really trying to support that. And then once I wanted to give you an introduction of what we do and the kind of the ideas. For me, when I took a backseat, I started thinking about what are these opportunities? What can we do for students? And I think these three, for me, begin to sum up the kind of things we need to be doing. We certainly need to be breaking down those misconceptions related to computational thinking and its uses within so many aspects of our lives. As I said, the stereotypes around computer scientists and the use of it, it kind of has this barrier. This leads on to my second one. We need to give early engagement opportunities, particularly for young girls, so that we begin to remove the stereotype of what is computer science, and actually the opportunities that exist in school, but also as they progress through their education and into careers. And to be able to do this, we really need to develop and support a skills pipeline that provides support at every stage of education and in early careers, so that people can engage with this material and get the right advice and the right opportunities.
Amazing, Stuart. Thank you for being so enthusiastic about your work and really helping us all to understand a bit more about how computers might make decisions. It is interesting to think about, and I guess part of the challenge in such a fast changing world, and particularly technology is so fast changing, isn't it, that it's more important than ever to teach people how to approach problems, or how computers think, or I'm not as articulate as explaining it, but it's not about teaching the facts and figures, is it? It's about that flexible approach to problem solving.
Yeah, I would jump. We often get maybe bogged down by the technology or the coding, for example. Like, people will often talk about, oh, if only everybody could code in Python, for example. And for us, that's not the enabling skill here. The fact you can pick that skill up is because you can think computationally and you can solve problems in a computational way. And all of this sort of cross-transferable skill, or work-ready skill, you might say, is actually what enables you to do that. I think that's the importance. And the more we can emphasize and support that, I think we'll hopefully be able to think about this digital pipeline and the skills pipeline and how we might be able to maybe one day solve the shortage. But I think we've got a long way off at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great example of a sector where there is real shortage of skills, and computer scientists are in really, really high demand. And interesting what you said about kind of challenging the stereotypes about who would make a good computer scientist, because then a sort of related but slightly different discussion, the fact that all our AI systems and all our computer algorithms are being designed by a certain type of person, let's say a kind of white male, is a real challenge for society, isn't it? And trying to get more diverse populations into tech is key for our democracy and for the society that we're creating through all this technology.
Yeah, and I keep jumping in, apologies, but unconscious bias within sort of machine learning and artificial intelligence based algorithms it's crazy. And some of the research that's been done into this, and we all suffer from unconscious bias. Actually, every single one of us has these problems as a human, of a sort of psychological point of view. But actually, when you start then developing algorithms, this unconscious bias is, if you will, seeping into them. And I think, as you said, more diversity and different approaches and different people are needed for this. A typical computer scientist really doesn't exist. We're looking for people with these broad sets of skills and applying it in this way.
Amazing. Yeah, really, I could talk for ages. I'm really passionate about digital skills and the opportunities for people in the kind of digital economy and how we can capitalize on that. But yeah, 3 fantastic speakers. Thank you all so much for sharing your passion and energy in this space. I hope others have found that as inspiring as I have. Great to hear those examples. And those are clearly not an exhaustive list of the fantastic projects and initiatives and examples of great work that's happening across Wales, and particularly across South West Wales. But I'd welcome any hands up to kick off a bit of a discussion. Any reflections on what you've heard? What sort of resonated with you from any of those 3 speakers, or any questions? Where are the gaps? What isn't being tackled, or what are the opportunities that you see for greater collaboration among all these different projects? Or use this opportunity to tell us what you're up to. So it's open mic time. Put your hands up and jump in with a question, a comment, a reflection, or a bit of a plug for what your organisation is doing to equip young people with the right mindset and skills to flourish. Zoe.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you for allowing me to speak today. So quick disclaimer, 2 weeks into my job, so I'm still learning exactly what I'm up to, but I've recently joined a charity called Springboard. Springboard focus on getting young adults into the hospitality, tourism and leisure industries. So we create training programs that allow them to get some exposure to the hospitality industry, for instance, get them on board with regards to qualifications, whether it's in food safety, their personal license, or customer service. And it's all about future-proofing the industry as a whole. So in 2020, COVID hit. We all reeled in shock, as you can imagine. The hospitality industry imploded. And as an organisation, there was a huge discussion about, well, what do we do and how do we operate now? There was an initiative raised at the time to get 10,000 youngsters into the hospitality industry by the end of 2020. We're fairly well through that number, but we've got some space to go. And we did that really by empowering the youngsters and giving them opportunities. So we're actually relaunching Swansea in a couple of weeks. We've been quite quiet in Wales. We are independently funded, and we're funded by projects that we have won and bid for. We recently got some funding from Welsh Lottery, so we're really excited about that, but we partner with industry organisations as well. So I'm running a Diageo Learning for Life programme for 18 to 30-year-olds starting on the 23rd of May. Very excited. So I'm doing recruitment and delivery for that and looking for work placements. So really it's that future proofing. Fabulous conversation I had with a business partner this morning when we were talking about, how do we really get in front of individuals who may have discounted hospitality as an opportunity because really of the COVID experience. And it's really to talk to Jane's point with regards to getting in to schools and talking about it earlier and creating a real excitement and buzz. You can travel with hospitality experience. You don't have to stand still. It gives you an opportunity to really start a working career. You don't have to continue, but there are some amazing opportunities to really develop your knowledge and skill set. So for me, this is a twofold conversation. I've just moved from manufacturing, working for a very small organisation who's doing some really exciting stuff in the world of sustainability. And those are the two industries that I'd always identified as being for school leavers a really great start to a career. And over the last 30 odd years that I've been working in the careers industry, I really see that protecting those entry-level roles is really important to kids and youngsters as they come out of the world of education and into the scary place of how do I pay the bills. So that for me was just lovely hearing from everybody today. Lots of threads, lots of resonance, and so thank you for all of the individuals that spoke and the teams. It was really great. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. I'm really glad that you've mentioned the kind of hospitality and leisure sector, because that, again, for our region, that's a really, really important sector, the visitor economy and the opportunities in that sector. And students from colleges in our region do really, really well in the World Skills competition when it comes to kind of catering and hospitality skills. And this is a great project, isn't it, to really make young people aware of the diversity of different roles that there are within those sectors, and to, I guess, remove the preconceptions, as we've talked about on the tech. It's just as important in every sector, but hospitality, tourism, increasingly so. The other Zoe looks like she wants to come in there.
Yeah, only just as you mentioned World Skills, that's what I was writing down, because when I saw these young people on stage that had been on the World Skills platform talking so passionately about waitressing, and the hospitality sector, and how important it was as a sort of springboard to to so much of their personalities, of them, their skills in talking and communicating with different people. They stood on the stage, they blew me away. It was absolutely so inspiring. And I think I wish I'd filmed it and could show it to young people right throughout, because you know, was amazing. Sorry, Zoe.
I mean, no, not at all. And I agree with you. I mean, obviously, I'm about to start a program that I haven't delivered yet, so I can't talk from experience. But you know, I've got the timetable here in front of me, and it's exciting. We've got a day that we focus on confidence and assertiveness and emotional intelligence. Who would have thought that, you know, 10 years ago we'd even be considering that type of topic? We've obviously got the employability side of things, but we also look at qualifications for the food safety. They get to mix cocktails. Who wouldn't want to do that as an 18-year-old? And they also get a chance to, you know, get qualifications in customer service as well. So there's a real focus on the emotional intelligence of what you do in a work environment, as well as the practical stuff. And it's kind of bringing that together. And yeah, and I'm quite proud that I didn't use the word springboard, because it was very tempting.
Brilliant. Thank you for speaking up and sharing about that project. That's really, really great to connect. Jane from Griffiths, talk to us about what Griffiths Civil Engineering is up to.
Okay, so the company work right across the UK, and personally I get involved in supporting mock interviews in schools, anything and everything. That I think is the simple answer, because we see the need to involve and to engage young people. You know, it is from a base where the supply chain's already been mentioned more than once, and it's quite evident in my sector that that's a big challenge. But so we'll do anything and everything, whether it's somebody that I've met in a careers event, and you don't have that opportunity to explain there are 42 different careers actually within the sector. And very rarely do you get young people come up to a construction and civil engineering stand because of all the stereotypes and the rest of it. So it is a case. It's really difficult to try and get that message out there. So and sometimes people have a perception that I might want to be a quantity surveyor because that's a maths or an engineering route, and it might be that I'll just organise, you know, for one day or a couple of days for them to shadow somebody, and that leads me on to where I see a really, really big gap, because you know, there are programmes I know that deliver work experience and are very meaningful, but equally, and we've talked about the way things have changed in the world. What I see, and I live in a rural area, and I say I work across the whole of South West Wales, is that people do not have those connections. So, you know, we touched on hospitality. It's actually where I started off in the good old days of the BTEC HND. I've worked in transport, haulage, farming, rural policy for 20 years. I work in construction and I have no background in it whatsoever. So I'm very much from the opinion of the ladies from How were saying, and I put in the chat box there, maybe we should drop any reference to career, you know, because it really, you know, it doesn't matter, does it? As long as people are happy and enjoy what they're doing and so on. So there's lots of reasons why I wanted to participate in this today. And as I say, there are lots of other agencies there that can support young people at young levels. And perhaps the gap is also the people who really need the support. Where do they really find out about that? You know, we have Careers Wales. I won't go further than that. But there is a massive, massive gap here somewhere. I also have two young people, and it's really hard for them, as I say, to make connections in the way that we might have done years ago, where you pick up the phone to somebody then, and, you know, somebody would be working in the sector, you'd say, oh, summer holidays, you go work there, you try a bit of this and try a bit of that. I don't have the answers, but I think myself personally, I have an open door, an open mind, and if a young person needs help with whatever that might be, and I also volunteer with the Prince's Trust, so I feel very passionately about what they offer, and very similar there within the hospitality sector. Tremendous programme, thankfully now, you know, since COVID, for a lot of things been very difficult, but they've reintroduced the Get Started or Get Into programme. So very structured programme, 6 weeks that young people can try refereeing down at the Liberty Stadium. Hospitality, Marks and Spencer's, numerous companies now that are getting back on board. And I think that is filling a gap of giving an opportunity to young people to try something in a very supportive, structured way. And they, of course, you know, the connections are there to make it work. So anyway, I could rabbit on for days on this subject. So thank you for this opportunity. And if anybody wants to get in touch with me afterwards on anything, please feel free to do so. Thanks.
Brilliant, Jane. Thank you. We're delighted to have Griffiths as new members for the region, and really, really great to hear about all the work that your organisation is doing to open up opportunities for kids to look at civil engineering. You said there were 42 different career opportunities in that sector, and you just wouldn't know, would you? So shadowing is interesting. And I think you were also raising a really important point, you know, how important are parents' professional connections to getting kids their first step on the career ladder. You know, if your parents work in certain sectors or have friends with businesses, or, you know, then it's much easier, isn't it, to arrange that work experience placement and to make those introductions, to get that internship.
Definitely, without a doubt.
Unfair opportunity.
Yeah, can I just butt in there just because it's really relevant? But that's absolutely, you're totally right. And this was one of the things when we started off with our membership, we focused very much on role models and that experiencing those careers that you would never come across otherwise. And that is a big part of what we do. So every month we have a speaker from a different sector coming in and talking to the girls. So if you know, I mean, particularly this is for our girls membership, which is different to our schools program. So I realized it was a bit confusing. We probably didn't explain that well enough at the beginning, but certainly if you know any young women who are, you know, in their 20s in any sort of, you know, area that you think would like to come and talk to a bunch of girls online from all over Wales and all over the country. And we've got girls in America who've now joined up. So it's a potential global platform for them to come and inspire other young people. And we all know that actually it's that one conversation, isn't it, that can make the difference. I was brought up in a medical family. There was nothing else available to me. I didn't even know that other people did jobs because that's all I knew. And, you know, I don't regret that for a minute, but actually my world is now open as an adult to all these opportunities. And I remember my husband's sister was going to do Spanish at university or something. And somebody said to her, "Oh, Spanish is really easy. Like if you were really good at languages, you'd do Chinese." And it was that one sentence that changed her whole life. She went, you know, she's lived in Beijing all her life, married out there, you know, her whole life changed from that sentence. So we need to give every child, every young person the opportunity to hear from people. So please get in touch if you've got any inspirational young girls. And one thing I've always had in the back of my head is some sort of crazy virtual, like speed dating,
not actual speed dating.
No, speed dating version of careers in Swansea, all over Wales, like something that we can spearhead, that we can bring young people all over the place and people from every sector you could possibly imagine and give them that 2-minute opportunity. So that's in my head somewhere and will happen at some point. So if anyone's got any ideas about that or wants to collaborate on something massive, do let us know.
Yeah, that's a fantastic idea. We've got some experts in speed dating in the room, but I won't mention any names. So let's think. I think that's some really, really important points there. And yeah, an opportunity for any of us that know inspirational 20-year-olds. And I can think of a couple already. So follow up with me on that one. Tanya, what would you like to say?
I suppose leading on for you know what was talked about women particularly, I just wanted to, as I mentioned earlier, that the Women in Sustainability Network was launched here in Wales last week. Very, very so excited about this. Can't believe we haven't had a network hub yet here. And although I'm trying to just ignore the fact that the first one's in Cardiff and the South East, it's the first foothold for a mass expansion, I'm sure. So for those of you who don't know about the network, it's a professional network for women and those identifying as women who are working to try and create positive change for a more sustainable future. And our vision is very much about how we can help and support women in sustainability to have the confidence and courage and the community they need to be a force for good. And we do that through providing inspiration, community, set opportunities for learning, both in person at hub events, so going to meet people at hub events, but there's also a lot that happens online too. So as I said, the Wins Cardiff is the first in Wales, and we'll be having our first event at the latter end of June, and there'll be more information about that, and I'll pop a link in the website. But like I said, we're looking to see how we might expand into new areas and move across Wales. And I think what I find is really important is that what the research that we're finding is that we do need to support women as we can through all of this. And I think there's some huge opportunities for both women in helping other women move forward, but also men acting in allyship with women. So you know, we know that 30% of men are really good about supporting and calling out bias in the workplace when they see it. We know 30% are awful and actually contribute to prejudice within the workplace. But there's a 30% of men who just sit there and don't, just not sure what they should be saying or doing or unclear. So I'm really keen. Anybody who wants to come and join us in June, that would be fabulous. That's going to focus on how we can work for the women in Wales in building the network. The second event, which will be in the autumn, at the Transport for Wales hub in Pontypridd, will be looking at career progression. And I think that's where it would be great if we could bring young women along to that. And one of the ways we're going to be doing that is by having a sort of pay it forward. So if people want to come to the event, they can sponsor a space for perhaps a young woman or who wouldn't be able to afford to come, or nominate
Tanya.
people that'd like to come. Okay.
Amazing, brilliant. Yeah, I think, you know, the key point there is about women supporting women, but also you know, the way we can give a leg up those who are already in jobs in a particular sector, how they can give back and pay it forward, as you've described there. And, you know, picking up on one of the other points, that sometimes it's really interesting to hear from, for kids and young people, I guess it's interesting to hear from people who are as close in age to them as possible. So, you know, we often hear about kind of business owners going into schools and talking, or people much further along in their careers. And I think there's a really exciting opportunity about kind of young professionals sharing their experiences of maybe how they got their first job, and it's still so real and relatable the closer in age. So yeah, great to hear about a kind of industry focused network that's about bringing together a supportive environment in a key sector. So really, really relevant there. Thanks, Tanya. Zoe, what did you want to say?
Yeah, I was just picking up on something that Steve had said earlier on, and I think it's really a great idea for really young kids around volunteering for stuff and understanding what businesses would open up to letting kids come and volunteer. My daughter's friend she's 9 and has just started helping out in the Egyptian Centre in Swansea University as a little host for a couple of hours on a Saturday. And we went to support her the other day, and she took us around and showed us everything. And it's so brilliant. She's volunteering and it's giving her the confidence. It's absolutely excellent. And we're in a really lucky position because of the sort of job that we do. So we were hosting an event in our office the other day, and I took Annabelle out of school for the day, and she helped to host and greet people and make them teas and coffees. You know, and Dawn took her, when we ran the Swansea City Centre conference, she took her kids out of schools to help. And I think those sort of volunteering experiences are so important, even at that young age of like 6, 7, 8. And it would be great to be able to encourage businesses to do that a little bit more often. I wonder how we could do that.
Yeah, my little boy was so proud to be working. He told his teacher he'd got a job at the new arena, where what he meant was that he was coming and helping out on the day of the Swansea City Centre conference. And yeah, it's just great experience for them, isn't it? So probably much more valuable than a day at school. Abid, what would you like to say?
Hi everyone. Yeah, basically I just want to sort of jump in and sort of like echo some of the stuff that's been said. Really positive, really enthusiastic. You know, it's you know, not too so, you know, using rather not so colourful language, but it's all been bloody marvelous, you know, sort of thing, you know. And you know, especially with Joe and Polly, I love the enthusiasm from those women over there. So big love and respect to you, by the way. Also, like, I'm the station manager for a online station here in Swansea, and one of the things that I can positively say is that our industry, in the radio industry, is a very male-dominated industry. It is. I mean, the women in general, or females, or identify as females anyway. You know, it's something that might discourage them. It's something that is a career that might not interest them. But I always believe that it depends on the type of, you know, role models. It depends on the type of training that you get, and it depends on the quality of experience and residency that you get. And it doesn't apply to radio, it can apply to a whole wide of sectors altogether. Like I said, working with the right people, working in the right environment can do wonders in terms of motivating and inspiring people to follow that type of career as well, because they may come across people that might put them off. Somebody might have said something negative about the industry when might not be true. So it's all about breaking down those sort of like stereotypical views, barriers. Because the radio industry has evolved over the years, and we as an online radio entity, very much different from an FM sort of entity as well, we're pretty much keen to work with young people because our platform, our demographic is aimed at young people from 17 to 30 to 35-year-olds, we are going to start up a training program as soon as we find studios, obviously, because that's what me and my team are actively doing now at the moment, somewhere in the city centre, ideally placed, just out of convenience, so everybody can access us very easily. We're working very closely with the educational institutions. We're working very closely with colleges, training bodies such as Career Wales. So much positive things have gone on since the last time that I took part in this For the Region talk. We've really grinded, we've really sort of progressed as an entity. We've really put things in motion so that when we get an actual studio, everything just lines up one after another, basically, as well. And that's what I'm really keen to do. So if there's people from this particular type of mean that want to work with us, because in our industry here, especially here in Wales as well, like the geographical displacement is unreal. It's something that I'm keen to sort of contribute to closing down and retaining talent here in Wales, especially because there has to be somewhere that people can get their tangible work experience and skills gained in our particular type of industry, because there are not to name names, obviously, just out of respect. There are commercial and regional stations here in South Wales that have completely closed off all work experience sort of entry and entry level positions that you would normally find with them. So we as a radio station, we want to sort of offer that. So say for argument's sake that you are a journalism student at university or college even as well, we could say to you, why not add broadcast journalism to your CV as well, because it just makes a more well-rounded, gives you that much more well-rounded experience in terms of being employable by a future employer, So that's what we're really keen to do. So, especially, like I say, especially with females, we want to get more of them involved in our industry. Younger people, we love working with them and all that. So, so please get involved if you really want to, because as someone like me, I want to contribute to the creative fabric of Swansea and the South West Wales region in general, and the whole of South Wales. Like I said, working with other institutions in other sort of regions, we really want to put that forward.
You're a really passionate advocate for your sector, Abiz, and it's a really great offer that you've made. Thank you so much for speaking up. It might be another awkward silence here while I ask for a few more people to come in. Oh, Steve, thanks for putting your hand up. What would you like to say? And Peter, if you're here, we'd really love to hear a bit about the skills and talent agenda from City Deal. So I might call on you in a minute. Steve.
Yeah, I think it's. It's been really fascinating to listen to all of the initiatives that are ongoing, and having a platform to be able to, one, find out that they exist, and two, to bring people together to connect and create opportunities to help drive these initiatives forward. So that's been really useful today. So thank you to yourselves and to the contributors. I think probably a broader point from my perspective as well, and where it's interesting to have the views of different people who are connecting with young people in different ways. We're very much trying to work out and develop a strategy for communicating with young people, which is quite a broad statement to make. But of course, the way that we communicate as an organisation is probably influencing, as I said, the relationships we have with certain people. So we have to diversify in general the way that we communicate with younger people. So that means understanding first of all, the platforms where young people are receiving information from, and also the type of content that resonates with them. And it's almost like trying to hit a moving target, because the tech tends to be technology driven, but everything moves so quickly that it's almost trying to keep up with all the developments and what are the best ways to get key messages to people. Because as I said, from our organisation point of view, we'd like to make the third sector an attractive place to work for young people. We'd like young people to get involved in volunteering and so on. And there are channels directly into schools and so on. But in terms of that general communications is how we actually interact with them. And interaction is the key word. How can they interact with us? Because we want young people to tell us what they want and how they want to be communicated with. So it's about creating that two-way dialogue and the opportunities to do that. So from our point of view, as I said, we're trying to sort of develop that specific communication strategy for younger people, which we know is going to be very different to other generations. And that's where also I'm sort of interested in other people's forms of communicating with young people and sort of just sharing knowledge and information as to how we all do that, really.
Yeah, and whether there's a sort of more joined up approach that we can take, a kind of communication strategy. Sometimes I've thought about the kind of messaging about your region needs you, you're the future of our region, and engage with us. How can we help? How can we work together? We've got Nick here from Bouygues. Bouygues are engaged in some major construction projects across our region, and construction is a key sector that I know always struggles with a shortage of skills. So I wondered, Nick, whether you'd like to come in and talk a little bit about the problem and the challenge from your perspective.
Okay, by way of quick introduction, I'm a social value advisor with Bouygues UK. I've been working in Swansea on and off for the last 12 years in construction. We've just started work on 71 to 72 Kingsway, the old Oceana nightclub, but I show my age, I remember it as Ritzy all the way back when. But coming back to construction, I mean, what we're building there is high-tech office space, co-working space for Swansea Council. I apologise for the noise in the background. I'm in quite a noisy office at the moment. But what we're building there is a net zero carbon. So that's one of the key challenges that's facing everybody really at the moment, is how do we implement this sort of net zero carbon economies. Construction is one of the big contributors to carbon issues in the world. So it's how do we push that agenda, but also construction is changing in the way it operates as well. We all know the trades that most of the young people that we deal with know about the trades, so the carpenters, plumbers, electricians, bricklayers, etc. But what we're trying to do is push the sort of technical and professional role, so you can see it as as a much more experienced industry to be in, and that's where we sort of, when we're going into schools, as a lot of people mention, we find year 6 is probably the most interested in what we do. They seem to absorb more of the information, and again, like a lot of people, not just single one-off experiences, but sort of going into schools 3, 4, 5 times is what sort of really reinforces the message that we're trying to do, and why construction is important. We're always going to need buildings, infrastructure, etc., and that's changing massively at the moment with the current carbon agenda. So that's an area that we're sort of really working on, and hopefully can influence some of those individuals that are coming through. Computer modelling, building information modelling are key parts of the industry at the moment. So all the skills that the young people have got are there and happening now in a much more sort of real world environment.
Yeah, brilliant. I think we're seeing that built into construction contracts, aren't we? The idea of upskilling the supply chain and creating those, whether it's apprenticeships or school visits, really big part of the social value agenda. And it's you know, a key sector. The decarbonisation agenda is a huge opportunity for new businesses, new jobs, but we need to make sure those skills are here.
It's starting to, you know, we're starting to see those buildings appear now, but actually, I mean, this is just the beginning of it. So it's how do we inform other local businesses in the area, how, you know, what can they do, our supply chain, but actually getting to the young people and helping them to understand what potential you know, entrepreneurial elements that they could develop in the future to help meet that demand for these new skills and this new way of thinking.
Yeah, eyes firmly on the future and on the long term. Thank you so much, Nick. We've got another Nick with his hands up. This is Nick from Vocalise, another new member for the region. Nick Pearce, would you like to come in?
Yes, thanks very much. I don't think the ink's dry on our application form yet, is it? So a very new member. I was rather relying on my boss, Susan Rodway, to say something, but she seems to have scampered off and left me holding the can. So hello, everybody. My name's Nick Pearce. I work for a company called Vocalise Democracy CIC. Based in Swansea, based loosely in Swansea. We all tend to work from home, as I'm sure a lot of you guys do. So Vocalise provides a digital platform specifically for community engagement and community action in all sorts of different settings. Typically, or one of them would be town and community councils, for instance, and trying to get the residents of a community council, a community to engage with what's going on. Housing associations, lots of third sectors, but one that I feel particularly passionate about as a setting would be student or pupil voice. So it's as I say, it's an online platform which enables people to kind of come together and share ideas. Rate each other's ideas, and help them kind of organise to turn those ideas into action, move those ideas into action. So I think what I want to say to the people here is that I've certainly got passion in that area. I know that my boss Susan is passionate in that area as well, and I think we'd probably be quite keen to talk to other people who are in that space, young people, students, children, giving them a voice and being concerned with their well-being, to see if we can actually generate some resources using the platform, to kind of collaborate in that way, because we know about the platform, but we're not necessarily experts in that space. So I think that would be good to collaborate, just on a personal level. In terms of why I'm passionate about it, I've raised 3 boys. The youngest now is 18, so I've been on that journey with them, which has been quite uncomfortable at times, to say the very least. And happy to see that they've all kind of come through quite a difficult transition, really. When I moved down to Llanelli, which is where I am now, some 12 years ago, I moved down thinking that I was probably going to go into some kind of semi-retirement. And a month later, found myself responsible for 3 very young children, the youngest one being 18 months old. So that was that idea out the window. I've got special guardianship for all 3 children now, and I have no experience of girls, so I've got 2. I've got an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old young lady in my care, as it were. So I'm buckling up for another adventure.
Supporting those kids to find their way in the world, and and in Llanelli in particular, isn't it? It's like making them aware of how much opportunity is here on their doorstep, and helping young people figure out their path through that.
I've popped the address, the web address for our website. It's got a lot of information. We have done some things called democracy days in primary schools, where we take the platform in on tablets, and the kids can have a day where they come up with ideas on what would improve the school, and those ideas are rated and all the rest of it, and hopefully in the process they learn something about the way democracy is conducted. And there's also an organisation up in Nottingham called Positively Empowered Kids that again take the platform into schools, secondary schools, I think, and have sessions with them. So anybody who's interested in potentially, kind of collaborating with us to generate some resources around the platform, please do get in touch.
Thanks, Nick. Brilliant. While we're running out of time, we're coming up to 2 o'clock. I'd love to bring in Sam Cutland from the Swansea Bay City Deal Skills and Talent Agenda. And for those of you that know, the City Deal is looking to really catalyse key growth sectors for our region, and the skills pipeline is a massive part of that challenge. Sam, what would you like to tell us?
Hi Dawn, just an overview really of what we do. I'm sure everyone will have my contact details if they wanted to have a catch up outside of this forum. So as Dawn said, I'm Sam Cutland. I'm the Skills and Talent Programme Manager for the Swansea Bay City Deal. And in essence, our programme supports the other 8 projects and programmes within the City Deal arena, if you will, to ensure that community benefits are met. So if they're saying, for example, they're creating 4,000 jobs, what are those jobs? What are the skills needed for those jobs? Where are the careers pathways for our young people, ensuring that these young people are aware of these wonderful, newfangled, exciting jobs that are coming on the horizon, and ensuring there's support there from secondary school through to postgraduate if needed, in order for those young people to be able to access those exciting new roles. It involves working with the Regional Learning and Skills Partnership to access industry and employers so that we can hear their voice and exactly what they are looking for. We work with colleges, all the training providers, work-based learning, local councils, and just collaboratively work together to solve these problems, to see where these issues are. It is quite challenging. We're very fortunate in our region in terms of our colleges and universities are very employer focused and open to those conversations, which isn't the case pan Wales or indeed UK. And the Skills and Talent Programme is going to focus primarily on 5 key areas, which will be digital. I always miss one, so I've written them down, Dawn. Digital, green construction skills as well, which is key, smart manufacturing, health and well-being, as well as energy and the renewables and all the exciting things that are happening down in Pembrokeshire. We're in delivery now. We've just approved our first pilot project, which is linked to renewables, working in Pembrokeshire schools with the local council, with the college, with the university, and most importantly with industry as well, bringing all those together, which is quite exciting. But it's key to note that any project that we would look at or consider as a pilot, we're not duplicating what's already out there. We are fortunate, we've got a fairly robust provision in the region, although sometimes it can be a little patchy in some areas, but we're not looking to reinvent the wheel. We're not looking, we want new, innovative, exciting pilot applications to plug those gaps that are really going to have an impact on our young people. We've got £30 million. I could spend that by Christmas, but we need to maximise and really make sure we're getting good value for our young people. And that's me done.
Brilliant. Yeah, so we've heard a little bit about the launch of this pot of money to support ideas that will help upskill people in the region. So really, really exciting to think about that. And yeah, great to hear that skills and the kind of skills and talent agenda is really central to City Deal, because we want those opportunities to really stay here.
It's key, otherwise it's just building monoliths and then leaving. It's about, to make them work, we need to be getting our young people in there, like you say, upskilling our workforce. And that's everything from plumbers through to builders, through engineers, as well as horizon scanning and trying to work out what these future roles are going to be. That's where the biggest challenge is, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Years ago, Zoe and I ran an event with local colleges called Should I Stay or Should I Go? And the idea was that we were bringing young people together to ask them that question. Are you going to stay in South West Wales when you finish college, or are you thinking of going? And it was very much around this idea of retaining talent. And what we found through that process was that young people were just not aware of, not only not aware of what employers and what companies and industries already exist here in the region, but they also weren't aware of the major investments that are coming and the big new sectors that are launching. And so giving kids that future vision, and to say, actually, there's huge amounts of investment coming into our region. There are these kind of game-changing projects, new sectors emerging. And you know, another reflection from that event was that actually the teaching staff aren't aware either. And so those, you know, college faculty, the staff in colleges, also need to know and be able to speak confidently about what those future opportunities are.
And that is also going to be a key element. My team isn't recruited yet, but once they are, a key element is going to be working with schools, and it's almost training the trainers as well. So informing the teachers, head teachers, so that information, it almost becomes a way of life. It's just there and discussed openly and with confidence, as you say, so that our young people can grasp those opportunities. It's exciting.
Amazing.
We're at the start of a very challenging but exciting journey, I think.
Really, really amazing. Thank you, Sam. Lovely to hear from you. Now, one more person that I would really love to introduce you guys to is my colleague Tara. She helps us with all our social media for the region and South West Wales Connected. And I think Tara is a relatively, for this group, young person that I would like to invite to sort of share any reflections that you've had from today's conversation, and maybe a little bit about the journey you've been on in finding your feet in your career. Tara, can I invite you to speak up?
Yeah, can you hear me? Is that all right?
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, I've kind of been quite, obviously listen to kind of the work you're all wanting to do for young people in the area is actually really nice to hear. Just as someone who is, I'm 26, I'm not that young. I'd like to point that out there.
Relatively young, well done.
But I am someone who, when I was going through school, I really wasn't told about, I was literally told you get your degree and that's kind of it. So I wasn't told about apprenticeships or anything like that. It was always the boys who were told to go and do apprenticeships because they would do the more physical jobs. And when I got my degree, then it was like trying to figure out what do I do with it. So I thankfully found an apprenticeship for marketing, and for me personally it was probably one of the best things I did, because I got to meet so many people, I got to make so many connections, and it's kind of got me to this job now, and I think kind of when you are looking at it, it is really important that, as you've all said, like it's so easy to just not think about, oh yeah, like we target certain things for this person, certain things for that person. But it does really come down to, you know, just making sure everyone's aware of the opportunities. Because like I said, from my experience, it was so cut and dry when I was in school. So it's really refreshing to hear like, oh yeah, we're not just telling people to go to uni and get a degree, and it's, you know, it might not be what they want to do, or it's kind of what they want to do, but it doesn't tell you then how to get a job or how to stay in your local area. Because I was so excited to come back to Swansea and see the opportunities after living in Cardiff for 6 years. And I think really we're in a really nice position now where we can kind of get young people staying in Swansea. There's so many new businesses coming here. There's so much development happening, and just every industry seems to be getting bigger down this way now, which is a great opportunity for everyone coming out to school age, going through school, and just yeah, it's kind of just really refreshing to see, honestly.
Oh, thanks so much for that. I think it's really interesting. We haven't really got into the discussion about whether university is the right path, or whether we're pushing too many kids into university where there are more practical vocational options, and giving people a full understanding of the different choices that are available to them. And yeah, the importance of apprenticeships in actually kind of on-the-job training, and as a really great stepping stone. And I know that all the colleges are always looking for employers to engage more closely with them and work closely with the colleges to create apprenticeships in the right things. But yeah, thanks Tara for speaking up. It's really great to have your perspective in the mix, and 26 is very young, so well done. Yeah. Zoe, what would you like to say?
Just as a non-academic who hated school and didn't go through that avenue, just having a really good network as well and around you, and people that encourage you to go for the things that you're passionate about. And it's really important to have those links. As we mentioned earlier, it is lucky for businesses that have it's lucky for young people that do have parents with different links, and we've got to make sure that young people right across the board have the opportunity to make those links, whether they're in education or not. They have to have those opportunities to be able to go in, and whether it's volunteering for different things or having different experiences and different, you know, we've all talked about the links with colleges and unis, but we can't leave the people that are behind that aren't going into those, because they're the ones that really need it as much.
Yeah, I mean, as a local employer with another hat on through my computer graphics company, I create, you know, we've started to really recognize that actually we don't need people to have a degree in 3D computer animation to join our team. So we've taken responsibility in-house for doing a lot more in-house training, which means that we can offer opportunities to college leavers or potentially even school leavers with the right attitude and desire to get into our sector, and we can bring them on as interns or apprentices or trainees, and you know, give them the sort of foot in the door. And so now we're in this fantastic position of being able to recruit for attitude and for enthusiasm, not just looking for people with graduate skills. And I think a lot of sectors are probably having that same realization that it's not all about somebody having a degree at all, and we need to make those avenues much more available and more talked about. Those pathways. There's a place for everybody, and it's really helping to connect people with those different pathways, different opportunities. And there's so much that local businesses and employers in our region can do. And really, it's been inspiring today to hear from so many organisations and businesses who are already making great things happen and really kind of grappling with this massive challenge. Before you go, I'd love for you to put in the chat, just for our notes, what would you love to see? So take a moment to share any ideas or inspiration. What would you love to see? What does this region need based on everything we've talked about today? We'd love to open up the conversation about this. And one of the reasons for this conversation is that shared prosperity funding has just been launched, hasn't it, across the UK, which is the replacement for the EU funding streams. And you know, the skills and talent agenda, the skills pipeline, opportunities for young people, and business growth agenda are all part of what the government want to be able to support. And we think there are probably innovative ideas and connections that need to be made to really make sure we're grappling with this challenge from all directions, giving young people the support they need and giving businesses the opportunities to engage with young people as early as possible, raising awareness of all the opportunities in all the different sectors. But it's also about equipping young people with the mindset, with the self-confidence and the self-belief, and enabling them to make the most of those opportunities that are available. So it's as much about emotional support as it is about lining up people to do apprenticeships. I really, really hope that today's discussion has helped to connect different organisations across our region, to inspire us all with some of the amazing stuff that's already happening, and to provide a platform to hear from inspiring organisations making great strides in this area. I'm sure we'll come back to it. The young people are our future. We all care passionately about the well-being of young people now and generations still to come. We want to create that flourishing future for everyone in our region, and surely that starts by really addressing what the challenges are and what the opportunities are for young people in South West Wales. Thank you so much for being part of today's conversation. It's 2:02, so I think I better let you all go off and grab a bite to eat, but stay connected with us at For the Region. We run these discussions on different topics on a regular basis, bringing together our members and collaborators across the region to amplify the good stuff and engage with the real challenges and opportunities for collaboration. That's all for this afternoon's event. Thank you so much for being here. Bye for now.